Okay, now let's start. Welcome on board. This is the Business Analytics Class 1. And in my class, I would like to have your understanding. I would like to offer you, if possible, to open your camera as well. Like you may also mute yourself at the first beginning, but later I will ask you to introduce yourself because in this class, we have a group project and each group will consist of 5 person. We have 30 students in total. So I would like to first ask you to introduce yourself to me and also to your classmates. So you may find your teammates. At first, you can choose your teammates. If you cannot find any teammates or you find you are like the one left behind, you can send me an email so I can help you group make the group. Okay, well, now this is the kind of the rundown I would like to go through. So first, I would like to welcome you all for attending the business analytics course. And later I will introduce myself, who am I, and then it's your show time. And I would like to know more about you, even though I have the name list, but still I would like to hear your like 1 minute brief introduction. I believe most of you have received my email before attending this lecture, but some of you I got rejected for sending the email, probably because you input a wrong email address, or if anyone who haven't received my email, please text me after like during the break or through the WeChat. And then I would like to, in your introduction, please also tell me a little bit more about your programming background, as well as why you would like to take the business analytics course. And then I will share with you why we will conduct this business analytics course in Python. I know like many of you are from the either business background or like some kind of like a science background. You may not have prior programming experience, but I believe like in digital era, especially the big data era, like for programming, that is the critical skill for you to enter the job market. So probably start learning Python would be helpful for your future career. And then I will talk a little bit about how the course organized and what's the grading criteria, the course logistics. And finally, I will share with you how we can download the Python environment for programming. And I think like most of them I have experience in my email, but yeah, let's see. So first, a little bit more about myself. My name is Daniel Qilin Peng. You can call me Daniel. This is my email address. I graduated from Columbia University Master of Science in Operations Research, and I'm currently also a PhD in Finance candidate in the University of Hong Kong. Now I'm at the Rotman School of Management in University of Toronto. So we have like 13 hours time flag, and so good afternoon or good morning, like if you are in North America. And yeah, who are you? I would like to know more about you. Let me so if there is any volunteer that you want to start introducing yourself, or I will order by name. Maybe start with Xu Qingfeng.
Hello, Professor, and hello, everyone. My name is Xu Qingfeng, and I am in Hangzhou, Zhejiang province, and my major is software engineering. Uh,
Okay, then this class
okay,
must be
that's it.
super easy for you. And if anyone wants to earn a good grade, maybe Qingfeng is a good teammate for you. Great. And so next would be Yunzi Wu, right?
Hello, everyone. My name is Yunzi Wu. Wu Yunzi. I come from Guangzhou. I'm currently working in a tech company, mainly responsible for the marketing. So I will need to use some data analysis for some like game companies' data. I have learned some programming in Coursera, like Python for everyone. So yeah, I have learned a little bit. So hoping learning more in this course. Thank you.
Great. And Yunzi is also an experienced programmer, I think. Even though like probably just you study a little bit on Coursera, but I think that's sufficient enough for this course because this course is an introductory course. And so students, please take down like what kind of teammates you want to team up with. And in total, we have 5 persons for each team. And then after the first class, I would like to everybody to send me an email. Tell me about your name and your teammate's name so I can arrange. The next one will be Cai Qingyun, Cleo. Hi, Cleo. Can you
Hello,
open your mic?
everybody, and Claire. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm currently in Australia. I graduate from University of South Australia. My background major is business property, so it's more like about valuation stuff and also management. The reason I take this course is because I want to try something more from different industry, and I think it's may helpful about the valuation.
Great.
That's it.
Great.
Nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you. And the next one would be Jingwen Yu. Yu Jingwen.
Nice to meet you, everyone. My name is Jingwen Yu. I'm from Nanjing, Jiangsu Province. I majored in applied mathematics, and I would like to enter in the financial engineering program. As I know, Python's library is very convenient and useful, and I know little about crawler and machine learning.
Oh, great. So this course might probably be important for you to pursue a financial engineer career. So wish we could help you a little bit. And next one would be Li Ruihan.
Hello, Professor. I'm Li Ruihan. I'm come from Xi'an. And my major is information engineering. I have taken part in the program about machine learning. I want to learn more in the class. Thank you.
Thank you. And next up is Chen.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello, my name is Chen Haobo. I'm now majoring in economics and about to major in AE. I live in Shanghai. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. And the next one, I don't know your your name, but it's a bunch of numbers.
Sorry, I forgot to put my name on the cycle. I will change it during the break. My name is Boxuan Pan, and my major is high polymer. It's about chemistry, but I like computer games, and I chose my graduate design as making a computer game by myself, and I started to learn C#, but I mean I'm still in the fundamental phase, so it won't help a lot. And I'm very excited to take this course.
Great. And next one is Xintong Zhou. Zhou Xintong.
Hi everyone, my name is Zhou Xintong. I'm from Zhengzhou, Henan province. My major was environmental engineering, and my undergraduate school is Center South University. I learned a little about the programming in my college, and I want to learn more in this course. Thank you.
Great. Next one is Yang Yiran, right?
It's me.
Yes, Yan Yiran, right?
Yan Yuan. Yes,
Uh-huh.
hello everyone, and my name is Yan Yuan. I graduated from Macau University of Science and Technology in last year, and my major is business analytics. So I have some basic coding knowledges of Python and MySQL. So thank you.
Thank you. And next one is Jasmine.
Hello, Professor. My name is Jasmine. I currently live in Shanghai, and now I work for a FMCG company. And for a large part of my job, I need to deal with some data, and maybe I need to find the way or the action to improve some some data like conversion rate. So I think taking this course may help me a lot because my major is English, so it has nothing to do with mathematics or data. Thank you.
Next one is Hu Yuekai.
Oh, hello. Good morning and good evening, everyone. My name is Hu Yuekai, and the major in my major is financial statistics. But sadly, the last time I learned Python is in my freshman year. So and I seldom use it for some data analysis. So I hope I can learn something in this course.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. And next is Marcus.
Okay. Hi,
Hi.
Daniel. Hi, everyone.
Mhm.
My name is Cui Guanghao. Also, you can call me Marcus. Now I'm in Shenzhen. My major in college is computer science. So, of course, I have some code background. I have a lot of enthusiasm in business. So, I believe I can gain a lot from this course.
Okay, great. Thank you. Next one is Chenxi Wu. Wu Chengxi.
Hi all. My name is Chen Wu. You can call me Damon, and I was graduate from University of Massachusetts Amherst. My major is resource economy. It's like the basic course of the business analytics. So looking forward for the future plan. Thanks. Future class.
Thank you. And next is Roderick Fan. Fan, right?
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi everyone. My name is Roderick Fan Zheyuan. I'm from Nanjing. I graduated from UC Davis with a major of international relations with the concentration on international trade and development. I have a little bit coding experience. The most language I use is R, and I know a little bit about Python, but not really too much. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, great. Thank you. And next one will be Wang.
Hello, my name is Wang Yisen. I'm from Tianjin. And now I'm a college student, and my major is international business management. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Next is Clement Wong.
Hello, I'm Clement. I'm from Beijing. I'm currently in a British uni, Durham University, if you ever heard of that. I know absolutely nothing about coding and Python, so I hope I can learn a bit of that from this module. Thank you.
Okay, great. And Yundi Qiu.
I'm Yundi. I'm from College of William Mary and currently studying applied mathematics and also minor in computer science. I had a little bit experience about Python, SQL stuff. Hope to learn more. Thank you.
Thank you. And the 贴龙马.
So, hi everybody. I'm Qilin. I'm living in Xi'an, Shanxi province, and I graduated from University of Maryland College Park. So my major is applied economics, and I enjoy traveling. Nothing more. Thank you.
Thank you. I think next one will be Zachary. The cherry, right?
Zachary.
Okay.
Hello. My name is Zachary, and I'm a student in Shanghai University. I learned Python before in a class, but I find it's really hard for me, and I hope that I can learn Python well after the class. Thank you.
Thank you. And Wang Sizhe.
Hi, I'm Suzhou Wang, and I come from. I'm in Washington D.C. right now, and I'm
Mhm.
studying finance major in my undergraduate, and I'm going to start business analytics. So I don't have any experience of Python, but I do have experience on R. Yeah, thank you.
I think that's convertible, like our programming experience in Python. Well, next one will be Fei Li Si. Li Sifei.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Lisi Fei, and I come from Wuhan. My major is applied economics, and I'm currently in the US right now. I want to learn this course because it helps me to understand why we made economics models and how to make economics models.
Well, like this course will be a little bit remote from economic models, but I think like learning this course will surely help you understand a little bit more about data. And Qiu Zhichen, right? Is that Zhichen?
Hi, Daniel.
Yeah.
Hi, Daniel. I'm Zhicheng, Unicom Jasper as well, and I graduated from Ohio State University. I'm now in Wuhan. My programming background, I have learned Java, we learned C, I learned MATLAB, but we use it to solve math problem. It's weird, we don't have the Python course, but it's a really mainstream programming software. So this is the reason I take this course. Thanks. That's my response.
Thanks. And we have final two more students. One is Chu. Your head is like a dog and a baby.
My name is Chu Liang, and my major is finance, and my major used to be computer science, so I have some coding experience, but my coding skill is not good. Hopefully, I can get better in this course.
Great, thank you. And finally, it's Ma Tielong, right?
Well, I think I just introduced myself.
You already done that? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'm already
it's more like a circle. I think I have everybody right. So great. Based on your introduction, I understand some of you might from computer science background, or some of you are working as a product manager, and some of you may not have totally have no prior experience with programming. So I understand it's a little bit unfair if like all of the programming CS students group together. So I wish, so as you may know, if you come to the society, you start working, and you probably need someone with programming proficiency, and the others who are good at presentation, who are good at delivering the products. That is also something that you may also expect, because the final project is not assessed only by the project, how good you are doing a project, but also in your presentation in the final class. So I wish like the 5 students You may first find yourself like your teammates, but if I find many students with programming background and they are grouping together, I might do a little bit of adjustments to make each team have the corresponding skill sets. Great, and hope you remember your classmates' introduction, and then after the first lecture, you may send me an email, tell me like with whom you want to team up with. And you may also refer back to the recording if you forget other students' introduction. Great, and now let's move on. I would like to share with you why I would like to teach business analytics. Business analytics is such a process that using quantitative methods to derive meaningful information from the data that you may probably get in your daily life or in your work. As some of you also mentioned, like you are a product manager and you are doing like the gaming stuff, right? You have a lot of data, for example, like the sales data, like the users data, and you want to get some useful information. For example, like what kind of characters or preferences that customer would like. Then that is the process. The business analytics will help you derive useful information to guide your marketing campaign or marketing design throughout the analysis. And we have predominantly 3 types of business analytics. The first type is descriptive. So what does that mean by descriptive? It simply means you are using statistics to describe a bunch of data sets. Probably the original data set will be like 2 gigabytes, 10 gigabytes, but you want to use some simple numbers to represent the whole information sets. So what you can do is you can calculate the mean, standard deviation, like 25 percentile, median, and 75 percentile. This kind of stuff are statistics, descriptive statistics. That is how you first get some impression about the data. Second, once you have the data, once you have properly described the data, then you want to construct some model to make predictions, right? Because simply analyzing what happens in the past will not help you in the future. So what you might want to do, you want to construct a model and then you use the model to make predictions for the future. For example, like we see the growth rates in the past 5 years, and maybe possibly we can estimate or we can give an assumption that the future growth rate will follow the pattern as in the past 5 years. So we can make predictions for the next year's growth. And finally, is prescriptive. What does that mean by prescriptive? That means the model tells you what the result should be look like. And you compare your expectation with the actual stuff, actual data you might find, and then you figure out what is the difference or what will happen if any bad things or good things happens, right? So the prescriptive would be more like in the real world, like the scenario analysis or sensitivity analysis. What if I change the assumptions a little bit? Then the result would be like. Next, why we started Python. As many of you have mentioned, Python is becoming one of the most popular language in the world. And maybe possibly 10 years ago, I think like Java or C++ is dominating the programming world, but now we are in the Python era. So after maybe I heard about like Google is introducing Go language or some other new languages are coming to replace the status of Python, but that might be 5 years later or 10 years later. Currently, Python is the predominant language for, I think, for industrial use or for research. And Python is the most loved language because of its versatility, flexibility, and objective-oriented feature. One thing that we didn't mention is the reason of the popularity of Python is because of its simplicity to learn. And not like many like C++ or like the lower level language, it does not require you to define each variables to state the type of the variable, but it will automatically allocate the memories for your variables based on the value of the variable. Maybe later we can show more concrete detail, but now it's more like giving you the impression of giving you the sense about what my Python is. And second, we like Python because many of the web or mobile applications that we are enjoying, they are kind of like done by Python. So if we are also compiling our programming using Python, it's much more easier for us to have the interactions with the existing like web applications or mobile applications. For example, we can use APIs. Even though APIs, they have multiple like language portals, but Python is kind of like every API, they will provide you with a Python portal that you can download directly from the websites, the data. And finally, it's like its easiness to learn and the clean syntax. And since many of you have learned Python before, so maybe the first lecture would more like a refreshment of your memory. But for students with no programming experience, you might pay much attention on the first lecture because we will talk about the basic syntax of Python. And then after the first lecture, beginning from the second lecture, we will be using Python for real-world business applications. And the Python has these very wide applications. So I simply named the top 7 use of Pythons. The first one is multiple programming paradigm. So we are kind of like developing the apps or developing the programming functions using Python. A lot of people are doing that. Second is web testing. Many people, they develop web pages to use Python in together with HTML and other stuff. And third is for data extraction. Even though if you are from computer science background, you know like Python is not very good for high frequency trading, or especially for financial engineers, or like for others, you are developing like computer programs, then computer gaming programs, and you may also find like Python is a little bit low efficient. But if in terms of data analytics, you only need to derive information from the data. It's not the efficiency is not a major concern. So Python will be a good friend of you because it's easier to use the pre-existing libraries in its library datasets. And then fourth, artificial intelligence and data science researchers. AI, even though we may use PyTorch or we may want to integrate some like a lower level programming language like C++, because artificial intelligence is more kind of like it consumes more the memory power or like the computation power of the computer. But Python, because of its library, pre-existing library, many developers, they have the library. They have already developed the functions that you can directly use. So you may use the artificial intelligence package to first run your idea, then in the later part, you may deploy it or you may deliver it to the programmers so they can kind of like optimize your algorithm. So in many of the kind of like high-tech firms, if you are the research scientist, you only need to deliver the idea using the simplest language, and then the programmers will help you to optimize your operating efficiency. Fifth is web application and internet development, as we have already shown in the web testing. And database access. Database access is more like, so Python can interact with many other pre-existing database like SQL, like PGSQL, or like many other like database applications. You will have an API to access that. So it's also one of the main reasons we choose Python. Finally, is cybersecurity. And cybersecurity is more like to prevent your data from theft from the hacks. And then like all these applications or all these uses, many of us are using Python, and Python has its limitations, of course, but it's also easy. The biggest advantage is it's easy to learn and easy to apply. And about the course logistics, so we have no prerequisites, but I wish like in your spare time, you probably can attend some Coursera courses if you feel the course is a little bit challenging, a little bit confusing, because we have only 10 lectures, we cannot cover all the aspects of Python. But I will also, like in the later parts, whenever we introduce some new algorithms, I will also share with you the Jupyter Notebook, which is the code that you may also try to practice, or you may try to run by yourself. So by doing that, I wish like after the class, you can not only just know a little bit more about the concepts, but also you may know how to practice Python and how to replicate whenever you see, for example, natural language processing questions or tasks that you have something to refer to. About the attendance. So the attendance of the class, my expectation is mandatory. I wish everybody to come to the class on time, and we'll have the online lectures, right? But still, if you cannot attend, just send me an email and tell me like the reasons why you may not attend. Because today I received an email like 30 minutes ago before the class, and the student is telling me like he's having 4 midterm examinations and he's super busy, so he cannot like skip the first class. But I will try to assign him to any of the team that you may form. But in the later classes, I will accept maximum 2 unexecuted absence. What do I mean by unexecuted? That's like you just skip the class and you did not tell me the reason why. So I will mark it as an unexecuted absence. So I think like 80% of the attendance, that's a minimum requirement. And about the assignments, we have 5 assignments, including one is the final project. The final project carries like 20% of the total score. Each of the other 4 assignments that carries 10% score. The 4 assignments are individual assignments, so it will be graded on your personal performance. But the final project, that's a group project. So they were based not only on the programming or not only on the coding, but also on the presentation. I understand like we have only like 2.5 hours for the final lecture. So we have 6 teams. I think like each team will have 15 minutes. So there is no, it is impossible for everybody to present. So maybe you want to find someone with superior English or superior presentation skill to help you deliver the final presentation in the last lecture. And then the presentation skill, as well as the coding quality, will be the main concern or the main grading criteria for the final project. And during our lectures, I will have 5 quizzes. So that's the reason why I require like mandatory attendance, because by skipping the quizzes and you are doing the quiz, maybe you can have a makeup quiz, but you are doing the quiz outside the limited time. So I think it's unfair to students who attend the class and attend the quizzes, right? So if anybody who omitted that quiz class, then you probably need to receive a penalty even if you make up your quiz. And about grading, so it's like 10% for each assignment and quiz, and 20% for the final project. In total, we have 110% like in total, but finally the maximum grade will be capped to 100. So I will allow you to skip at most one of the assignments or one of the quiz. So that depends on you, right? And one assignment and quiz can be optional if you want to get good grades, because of course no one will get full mark, 100%. So you probably want to like do all the assignment and do all the quizzes. So that will greatly benefit. You will receive bonus marks for your final grade. And for late submission, I will apply like 5% penalty to the homework. And for example, you have 10% for the assignments. If you submit after the deadline, then I will apply like So the maximum score you will get is just 5%. Okay. So and about the honor code is do not cheat. Even though I cannot tell because whether you are copying from each other or copying from the internet, but if you are copying from the internet, once I Google it, I will find something, right? So if I find you copy the code directly from the online source or from the other students, you will receive 0 mark for your assignment or your final project. And about the office hour is either by appointment or through email or by WeChat. I noticed like many of the students, they are adding me on the WeChat. I will reply you after the class. And okay, that's it. If you have any question, please feel free to ask. Or if no, then we will proceed to tell you how to download the Anaconda. Okay, I think the requirement and the rules are quite clear, right? Just do not cheat, because whenever you attend any US schools, cheating is a non-tolerable stuff and probably get you kicked out of the university. So you may, okay, that's one thing that I want to bring to your attention. And the road ahead, we have in total 10 lectures and we have like 6 weeks. And for the first lecture, it's more about like introduction and also introduce of the course, introduce of yourself. And the second part of the first lecture would be the Python basics. So just a memory refresh or like kind of like review of the basic Python syntaxes. Beginning from the second lecture, we will talk about web scraping. So probably you've heard about spiders or like someone who can kind of like download the data from the website without the permission from the website. And that is what we call web scraping. And we were only using like the very basic web scraping stuff, for example, Python requests. So that's more like a direct request. For example, it's like using the Python functions to mimic human browsing activity. Because whenever you want to browse a website, you just type in the URL, you type in the address, and then your browser will give you the response, right? So that's the reason why you can find the information online. But that is a human activity. We want to automate this process to facilitate your kind of like downloading stuff from the website. Maybe if without web scraping, what you can do is just go to the web browser and copy and paste whatever you want from the website. For example, Yahoo Finance. You want to download the historical price of the Google stock, and then you may only copy all the past information and paste to your Excel. That's an old way of doing that. But the new way, or like using the Python, how we can do that is we use Python to access the URL, and then we kind of like we segregate. We have different models, we have different elements in the websites, and then we simply extract the table that contains the information, and then we put the table into a Python object. Then probably we can just export as a CSV or as an Excel file. And once we download the information from the website from the lecture 2, then in lecture 3, we will try to find a way to store the information we have, right? The old way of storing information is simply copy and paste to, for example, Word documents or Excel documents or some other like PPT. But Python offers you, or like not Python, but the database offers you a more comprehensive way of storing big set of data. So we're kind of like trying to tell you more about the database structure and as well as the SQL query. Why SQL? Is because SQL is more like a query language for the database. And in the market, we have kind of like 2 types of database products. One is MySQL. It's more like the free of charge and open sourced the structured database. As well, we have non-SQL, like that's more like an unstructured database, and also free of charge. But we have more databases that is on commercial use. For example, Microsoft Access or other products. But doesn't matter if charge is free or not. The database is used to store your data, and how you can use SQL to facilitate the data extraction from a large database. So that's what we were learning in the third lecture. In the fourth lecture, we will talk more about how to process data. Once you download the data and you store it to a database, and then you may try to derive some information, or for example, build your descriptive statistics for the data, right? So that's what we will learn in the lecture 4, and NumPy and pandas for data processing. NumPy is a numerical Python. It basically helps you to do some mathematical calculation, for example, taking square roots, taking cubic, or this kind of stuff in Python. And the pandas is more like, you can think about pandas as an Excel for Python. So whatever you can do in Excel, you can do with Python pandas. Okay, and once we process the data, the name processing data or data processing is more like cleaning the data, because whenever you have analyzed real world data, you find it's super dirty, or you find they have many outliers, they have like irregularities, they have errors, right? Because the one who types in the data, they might make errors. So we need the data processing to kind of like first clean the data. After the data cleaning, data washing, and then we will enter into lecture 5 for data analysis and visualization. And data analysis, we will talk a little bit more about like regression models and some supervised unsupervised learnings models, and to help you to build a forecasting or predictive model using our pre-existing libraries in the Python. And the visualization is more like, once you analyze your data, you have all the statistics, you have the mathematical descriptions. However, if you want to deliver the results to your boss or to your supervisor or to your clients, you may find your supervisor or your client doesn't have the patience to go through all the details of your model. What they want to do is they only want to get the first impression of the data. So what is your conclusion? And by doing that, visualization is a good friend for you to write a report, or for you to demonstrate, make presentations, deliver a pitch if you are finance students, right? Once you want to ask the investors to invest in your product, then probably you need to have more visual aid than the numbers, right? So visualization will help you a lot, especially in your daily work. And beginning from lecture 6 to lecture 10, that's more advanced topics. From lecture 1 to lecture 5, that's more like a basic business analytics skills. Lecture 6, we were talking about text mining and the natural language processing. That's like, for example, what does that mean by text mining and the natural language processing? When you read an article online, and then probably after you read all the content, you will have a first impression about what the article is talking about and how positive or negative tone. So what is the attitude of the author toward the object, right? But now we want to automate the process. We want to use the machine to read an article and tell us some information about the article, without actually having someone sitting in front of the computer or sitting in front of the paper and to read it. So we will use some statistics. To be more concrete, we will calculate the positive attitudes and the negative attitudes of an article, and then we will label the article as positive or negative. So it's more like a sentimental analysis for the articles, for the text. And in lecture 7, we'll talk a little bit more about the analysis of networks. And networks is usually like if you have all the you have the individuals, and then you have the relationships between different individuals, and how we can analyze the organization structure of the network. And in lecture 8, we will talk about machine learning, and probably some of you are majoring in machine learning, and then that's your expertise, right? But in this class, we will not tell super advanced machine learning algorithms. We will simply cover the basic like KNN, k-means, and regression, or like random forest, this kind of decision tree models. And these are very and support vector machines, SVM. So these are the very popular machine learning models, at least to give you the sense what machine learning is talking about. Probably for some students who have never studied machine learning, never heard of machine learning, the models I have mentioned, that's kind of like confusing to you. But don't worry, machine learning is nothing more, but you simply want to train the model, train the machine to understand your data, and then ask the machine to choose the parameters that defines the model, and then you can use this model to make predictions. In lecture 9, we will talk a little bit more about neural network and deep learning. You can regard neural network as an important subset of machine learning, and a neural network is like we are kind of like get this idea from the biochemistry or biology class or biology subjects, and for some scientists, they are analyzing the human brains. So we want to mimic the way that human brain works. We simply define the neurons, which is the simplest elements of your object or of your algorithm, and then you use this kind of neurons to connect to all the other neurons. We build a network of neurons, and then we use this kind of structure to make forecasts without knowing what's happening in between. So it's more like a black box. You have the inputs, you have the outputs, and then you ask the machine to train the neural network for you. And finally, in lecture 10, it's about the business analytics project presentation, which because we have 30 students in the class, so we have like 6 teams. And for each team, we have 15 minutes for presentation, deliver what you have learned in this class and what you want to share. And then I think after that, we might have like just 1 hour left. Right? So 6 class times 15 minutes, that's 90 minutes. We have 1 hour. In the final hour, I will talk a little bit more about the fintech development in China, if we have time. Okay. In-class exercise. So if some of you who not receive my email, then probably you do not know. In this class, we will need to download the Anaconda for our assignment and our quiz. And how to set up the Python. So we will install Anaconda distribution for Python 3.7, or maybe you can download for more recent version, that's okay. And if you cannot download, if you find any difficulty in downloading Anaconda, you may use an alternative source, that's Google Colab. But I understand for many of the students who are currently in China, Google is blocked, and you may also do not have VPNs. So if in that case, what you can do is you can try to download the Anaconda from the Tsinghua website. So now let me show you. If you are in mainland China, so I give you the URL link. After you open this link, you will find like you can download the Anaconda from this website. You just click here, and then they have different versions for you to choose from. And so you can, based on your computer programming system, if you are Mac OS, you just download the OS. If you are like Windows, you just download the Windows 64 bytes or 32 bytes. And if you are like free to access the external world, then you can just simply click here, Anaconda products individual. Individual is open source, which means free. And commercial, if you want to pay the money, then you can get the other editions. I think individual edition is okay for our course. Then this kind of website will automatically detect so what kind of system you are using. Then it detects I'm using like the Windows, then you can just simply download Windows. And the most recent version is Python 3.9, but so long as it's Python 3, then the syntax is all the same. Do not download Python 2 something, because the kind of the syntax will be slightly different from what we will be teaching in this class. And if you are using MacBook, and you can also have the MacBook version, and I don't think students will have Linux version, except you are a CS student. So I would wish you can download the Anaconda during the break in these 10 minutes. If you find any difficulty, you may feel free to ask during our class, after our class. Okay, so now let's take a 10 minutes break, and we will come back at 10 p.m. Right? No, 9 p.m. in China, and 8 p.m. 8 a.m. in New York time. Okay, let's come back to the second part of the lecture. And some of the students have encountered a problem in receiving the email. I've just sent to sent to a few students, because you see, like, I have a few students get rejections, probably because because we didn't collect the correct email address. If you still cannot receive my email, then I can copy this kind of stuff to the WhatsApp group after class. Okay, so some of you have already downloaded Anaconda, and let me show you. So what would Anaconda look like if you feel you are a little bit confusing about what to download? And for students with computer CS background, if you already installed your Jupyter Notebook, you may not install Anaconda, because Anaconda is more like a comprehensive package. They not only include Python, but also include R and many other stuff. So that will take a lot of your computer, kind of 2 gigabytes of your computer space. But it's a good start for the beginners, because you do not need to configure your Python environments by yourself. Okay, it's a little bit slow when you first kind of try to open your Anaconda. The full name is called Anaconda Navigator. And then the thing that we will be using is the Jupyter Notebook. Once you open the Anaconda, if you just download the Anaconda, then you find these two are already pre-installed. And however, the notebook is not installed. So now you need to click install, and then you will kind of like download the Jupyter Notebook to your environment and help you configure your environment automatically. And the install will take a little bit time. And after installation, then you can click launch. And all the other things you do not need to configure. If you are worried about like a specific Python version, then you can click here, install different versions of your Jupyter Notebook. Okay, once you have installed your, once you click the launch, and what will happen is your browser, your web browser, because my default browser is like Google Chrome, and it will automatically activate the Google Chrome. At the first beginning, you were thinking about like Jupyter Notebook is more like a web application, but actually it's not a web application. It's running on your local computer. It's just using the web, like using the Chrome at the interaction phase. And now you figure out this is all the folders of your default, kind of like the default directory. What does that mean by directory is simply your folders of installing the Anaconda and Jupyter Notebook. And then what I can do, we can kind of like open any, for example, documents, and then you figure out that these are all the documents in my computer. And then you can, what you can do is you can start a new folder. And then once we have okay, untitled folder, right? And then you click rename. And for example, we name it as business analytics assignments, and click rename, and then you have business analytics assignments, and you click here. Then now you are in the directory under the documents under business analytics assignments. And then what you can do is you can click new and type Python 3. So it will automatically help you generate a Jupyter Notebook kind of a folder, and then for example assignment 1. Okay, now this is the Jupyter Notebook environment. And whenever you want to change the title of your Jupyter Notebook, you can simply click here. You find out it becomes a gray shaded area. And once you click it, and then you can type in whatever name you want to name it. And then you figure out, okay, now we have the assignment 1 IPython notebook. So Jupyter Notebook, its original name is IPython, and now it changes name to Jupyter Notebook. So doesn't matter. This is just the defining the type of the file, and you figure out it's in the green. It's a green notebook. Green notebook means it's currently running. It's when you click the running, it's currently running. So which means this notebook is connected to your, how to say, it's activity in your system. So now what you can do, you can type in the Python kind of a syntax. For example, integer a x. No, you do not need to define the type, right? You can simply type x equal to 3, y equal to 2, and now I want to see x plus y is 5, or x times y, that's 6. So these are the, you can simply type in the Python syntaxes, and once you type in the code, you can click run, and which means it's running in the backwards of your computer system. And a easier way to, instead of like clicking runs all the time, you can do is press Shift and Enter together in your keyboard, and now you find it's easier to kind of like running the system. Okay, now let's go back to the to the lecture. Okay, some of you may have a question. Maybe see. I'm still installing. It took a long time. It doesn't matter. You do not need to follow my demonstration now. It's only useful when you are trying to do your assignments. So you can kind of like install it later. Okay, now let's see the Python basics. I think it's easier for students with programming backgrounds, but it will be a little bit confusing for students with no programming experience. Now let's see. So in the second part of today's lecture, we will cover about like 10 topics or 10 concepts. Now, let's first talk about what does interactive interpreter mean. So what does that mean by interpreter? Okay, so interpreter, so now let me explain it using a kind of like an example. So we know computer, they are kind of dummy, or they are silly. They only understand 0 and 1s, right? However, doesn't matter you are programming in C or you are programming in Python, programming in R, what you are writing, for example, you can see. What I'm writing are simple English, right? These are English, or for loop for I in range 5, print I. This stuff, even though they are syntaxes, still they are kind of like developed based on English, right? So how can the computer understand our code? There is a requirement for the interpreter. So we need some kind of like a translator. You need someone to translate English into 0s and 1s such that the computer knows what to do. So what does that mean by interactive interpreter? That's a history of the computer science development. You know, in the very beginning, as we are using, for example, in the 1990s, we are using C or C++. C++ is a later stage. At the very beginning, we're using C. C is a lower level language. So once you code all the codes, once you have all the codes, then you click compile. If your code is free of bugs, and then your compile will successfully give the results. That's the binary file, or like the .exe file. That's an executable file. Then you click the executable file, then you will get the results for running the program, right? If you are using, like if you are playing computer games back in the early 2000, you probably find a lot of like the exe files. But for example, now we all still have exe files. These are pre-compiled programs, and you can by double click .exe file, that's executable file, then that means the dummy the binary codes are running in your machine. But now Python is a little bit improved. The reason is because when you are using Python, for example, we are simply writing the sections of the Python code, right? For example, let me write a very typical like C code. For example, integer x equals to 3, integer y equal to 2, and we need to print x plus y. And also, when we run the code, we will need to run it within the main function. Otherwise, we cannot pass the compile process. So this is more like the full code. Once you have the full code, then you click compile, and then it will becomes the machine readable or machine understandable file. But as you can see now in the Python, we do not necessarily need to have the integer main function. We do not necessarily need to finish everything and then we can go, right? We can, once we define a variable, then we can store the variable in the memory, and then we can use the memory to interact and to kind of like throughout the development process. So that's the benefits of interactive interpreter, because it's interpreting while you are coding. And this is the best thing that we can have in like the programmer's world. The reason is, for example, you think if you're coding a bunch of codes, especially a very long codes, once there is any bug, it's very super time consuming and super hard for you to find where did I go wrong, right? However, if you kind of like segregate your code into different sections, into very simple parts, and then whenever there is a code error, for example, if I want to define it as ABC, and it will give me a name error because ABC is not a legitimate kind of like the value, right? So I will immediately know which code did I go wrong, where the bug is, right? So by doing that, this is a benefit of interactive interpreter. It goes whenever you are coding and you are running. So, and the features of interactive interpreter, you can think about the interactive interpreter as a sandbox. What do I mean by sandbox? It's more like a kind of like a virtual environment. You are running the program, and then you start a mini program. The mini program simply contains one line of code. For example, x equals to 3, y equals to 2. Whenever the mini program has any error, for example, there is an error that makes the mini program cannot proceed, then it will give you the result, give you the error message, right? So it shortens the code test debug cycle. In the very like in the ancient time, or like 10 years ago, the code test debug cycle, maybe coding takes you just 10% of your time. Test takes 5% of your time, and debug takes you 85% of the time. But now you can spend more time in coding and testing instead of debugging, because debugging is simply to find the errors in your code. And that is time consuming, and it didn't bring much benefits to your program, to your application. So this is the greatest thing that we can have for Python. Second, it's about the comments. So why do we need comments? Because you can see now what we are doing is we are coding the codes, right? However, without any comments, you do not know what I'm doing here. Or for example, I understand what I'm doing here. I'm simply calculating x and y and x plus y, the sum of x, y, right? But if I want to communicate the same thing to another one or to your teammates, how can we facilitate the teamwork? Is that we need to make a comments. Comments help you deliver your ideas and thoughts to others without influencing your code. You find out like this line of, or like this sentence, I write it in the code, right? In the file. However, once I use the dash line, and once I use the dash symbol, that means to comment out. This becomes a comment. The comment will be automatically ignored by Python. So we can write something to write down our thoughts without influencing the delivery or the execution of Python. That is how we communicate with each other, right? Still, okay, with the dash line, you are only commenting out the first, the one line. If you want to have another line, this is the second line. You need to have the dash for all the lines. However, if you want to show 1, 2, 3, and 2, 3, 4, you want to show a matrix, for example, right? So what you need to do is you need to add the dash lines in front of all these kind of lines. And that is also time consuming. There is one way for you to simplify the process is you can type in 3 single quotation mark, and then within the single quotation mark, you can type 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6. You can type in the matrix. And for all the stuff within this triple single quotation mark, Python will simply treat it or regard it as a string. You see, it becomes like the red, right? The kind of a dark red. The dark red represents strings. So what does that mean by string? String is simply a bunch of meaningless characters combining together. And the Python will not try to understand whatever is within this string. Okay, this you can see there is 2 different kinds of comments. One is one-line comments. We use the dash symbol to comment out one line. And then if you want to comment out multiple lines, for example, this is useful because if you want to skip this kind of stuff, what you can do is you can simply add 3 single quotation mark, and the Python will automatically skip this line, this thing. But still, the code is still kept in your coding, in your Jupyter notebook. So whenever you have some codes that you want to change, but you don't want to give up, you don't want to simply delete everything because you may want to reuse it, then what you can do is you can use the 3 triple single quotation mark to comment out your code. And maybe later you want to use this. Who knows, right? So this is a comment. We have in total like 2 different types of comments. Or you can also use like a double quotation mark. So long as there is like a 3, like a 3 in the front, 3 in the back, then Python will treat it as comment. Second is a variable. Variables and types. We know that in C, C++, or Java, whenever you try to define a new variable, you need to specify the type of the variable. For example, int means integer. So what does this type integer mean before your x? That is telling the computer to allocate certain kind of like a space to store this variable. For example, in an integer, for different kinds of different types of variables, there is a predefined space to store the x or store your variables in your memory. As we know, like now the memory is like maybe most of the computer have 8 gigabytes of memory. Some more powerful computer have 16 gigabytes of memory. So memory is not a very big concern now, right? But In ancient time, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, maybe a computer only have 256 megabytes, right? So during that time, memory is a very large limitation for you to program. So what you need to do is you need to be very careful in defining the variables without using too much of the memory. So that's the reason why C, C++, and Java, they need to first specify, okay, I need an integer to store 5, number 5 to X in the memory, just to open a space for integer for me. But now in Python, because we are free of the memory limitation, or much more free, it's not like completely free because still like 8 gigabytes whenever you want to use like large data sets is not enough. But now what we can do, Python, you do not necessarily need to tell the program or tell the computer, now we need an integer space to store. Now we simply, okay, we have 5, and Python will automatically detect, okay, 5 belongs to integer. So we simply open a space to store X. Okay, so Python simply helps you to omit the process. You do not necessarily to define it manually. It will automatically allocate based on the value of the variable. Okay, also remember, there is no semicolon in Python. In C, C++, or Java, you need a semicolon. The semicolon means a terminal or end of the sentence symbol to show that this line of code is terminated or it's over. But Python, you simply write all the codes within one line. And so because we do not have explicit the semicolon, so we need to be very careful. In Python, we are using indentations to show the logics of your code. What do I mean by indentation? So as you can see, if we are using C++, we have this semicolon to show, okay, this is the end of the line, right? Or otherwise, I can put the semicolon here. If I put it here, then probably okay, I cannot put it here. But semicolon shows, okay, this is the end of the line. But in Python, in Python, you can only write in one line. You cannot have x equals to 3 and y equals to 2. If you write like that, Python will not understand. So in Python, the indentation and the spaces and the enter, the change of line character, they are very important in determining the logic of your flow. Okay, we'll see it later in more concrete examples. Okay, because Python are dynamically typed, so they take the type of the object that they are representing. If I put 5 to x, then the x will be an integer. If I put 1 to x, so this equal sign means assignment. Assignment is to simply put the value of the right to assign it to x. So the type, the type is a type function. Type function will automatically tell you what kind of type does the x variable mean. So we find out that like the x is of class integer because 1 is an integer. And if x equal to unicorn, because we have a quotation mark, double quotation mark, so x is now a string. So when I type x, then it's of class string. str means string. Okay. And third, fourth. Now let's look at the numbers and the booleans. we also already mentioned like type Python will automatically allocate the value to the types of the variables, right? So we know 5 is of integer type. 5.0, remember 5.0 in Python is different from 5. It's a floating number, or it's a float of type float. And then 1 plus 80 will equal to 9, and 9 is an integer. And 8 plus 5.1 equal to 13.1, so it's of type float. Okay, so we have this kind from this example we know if it's an integer plus a float, it will be a float. if it's an integer times float or divided by float, it will be a float. So whenever float happens, then float will dominate. And 2 times 4 will equal to 8. So 8 is an integer. 2 divided by 3 will equal to 0.666. That's a float. And 7 double divide. This the double divide, what does that mean? It means we get the divisor. We get the divisor of 2, right? 7 divided by 3 will be equal to 2 with remainder of 1. So if I want to take the 2 out, I use double divide. So it's an integer division. So this will be an integer. And 7 mod by 3. This percent symbol, that means mod in Python. So mod means I take the remainder after the division, right? So 7 divided by 3 will be equal to 2 with a remainder of 1. So we are taking out the remainder 1, and then we get the integer. Modular, the percent is a modular operator. So 7 mod by 3 equal to 1. And 3 time. So this 2 star, double star, what does that mean? That means to the power of. To the power of. So 3 to the power of 3 will equal to 3 times 3 times 3. And then it will be equal to 27. And 27 is an integer. So the double star will be represents the exponential operator. Okay, on the left, there are numerical types: integer, float, and complex. On the right, we have the mathematical assignment. What does that mean? Means if you want to, because usually at the beginning, whenever we want to use the self-iteration, for example, we want to x be x plus 1. Now we know x equals to 3, right? So now we want to let x become 4. Then we can use the x to self-iterate. Then let me do it again. Now x equal to 4. I want x to be 5. Then x will be equal to 5 after I run this self-iteration program, right? However, I found it kind of like troublesome to write two times x. So I found an easy way. I define an easy way to define the self-iteration is x plus equal to 1, which is equivalent to x equals to x plus 1. Okay, now let me do that again. So x will be 6 because x is now 5. X was 5, right? And now x is 6 and x plus 1, it will become 7. So mathematical assignment is simply like we are omitting the second x. So x plus equals to 5 will equal to x equals to x plus 5. X minus equals to 3 will equivalent to x equal to x minus 3. X time equal to 2 is equivalent to x equal to x times 2. And this is a division, self-iterative division. And this is self-iterative integer division, self-iterative modular operator, and self-iterative like exponential operator. Okay. And later we talk about the Boolean type. We mentioned about like the original, the very basic type is including floats, integer, and complex, right? And now Boolean type is kind of like a special case of the integer type, because the Boolean type variable only takes 2 values. One is 0, the other is 1. Its Boolean type is more like the very fundamental of the computer, right? Because computer will only understand 0 and 1. So the Boolean is exactly 0 and 1. So whenever Boolean type is equal to 0, it means false. Whenever it equals to true, and it's what equal is 1. Okay, so true will be equivalent to true in the Boolean type, and the false will be equivalent to false, and not true will be equivalent to false. And there is an and or operator. These are logical operators. True and false will be equivalent to false. True and true will be true, and false and false will be false. And the second is an or operator. or operator true or false were equivalent to true, and true or true will be equivalent to true, and false or false will be equivalent to false. Now let me summarize. Okay, now we have true, right? Whenever you type true, you find out it's no longer the black letters. You see, without typing the full true, it's black letters. Now, once you type in the true, and now it becomes green, which means it's a reserved value for Python. And whenever it's a false, it also becomes green. It's also reserved for Python. Now let's see the AND operator. True and true will be equivalent to true. True and false is false. False and true is false. And false is false. So these are the AND operator. And OR, if I change everything to OR, we find true or true. Whenever there is one thing that is true, then it will be true. Right? If both sides are false, then even though you are OR, then it's still false. Okay, that's the AND and OR operator. And then we have like the how to say this condition or this kind of comparison comparison operations. 5 equal. So we have 2 equal means we are comparing the left hand side and the right hand side. So 5 equal 5 will be true because 5 is equivalent to 5, right? And the 1 not equal, this this symbol is not equal. 1 is not equal to 100, so it is true. And 3 larger than 6. Of course, we know in mathematics, 3 is smaller than 6, right? So when I try to type 3 larger than 6, this is a statement. This is a false statement. So it will get the result of false. And 4 larger or equal to 9. This is larger or equal to. So 4 is smaller than 9. So 4 larger to or equal to 9 is false. And the final one, 3 larger than 2 larger than 1. This is equivalent to an AND operation. So you can divide this into 2 parts. One part is 3 larger than 2. Second part is 2 larger than 1. And we find on the both sides they are true. So in the final 3 larger than 2 larger than 1 will be true. And then we talk about the strings and the lists. Strings, if you have the double quotation mark or single quotation mark, Python will regard it as a string. So now I define x equal to string Daniel loves, and then I use the plus sign. You know, string concation. The plus sign will be string concation using plus. So we found out it's Daniel loves business analytics. Please be reminded. Let me show you. This is a little bit wrong because there is no space in between. So because the first string doesn't have any space after loves, the S, right? The second string doesn't have any space before the business analytics. So the result will be Daniel loves business analytics without this space. Let me show you here. X equals to Daniel loves, okay, and then I want to print X plus business analytics. You find out there is no space here, except you type in the space here, then you will have the space. Okay, now let's talk about the indexing. Whenever you have strings, you can think about strings and lists. They are pretty much similar. And now let's think about a string as a list of characters. So now let me define course as happy.py code, happy code. And now let's do the indexing. What does that mean by indexing? It means I want to find the position of each character. Okay, now you know all the position, all the indexings are starting from 0 from the left hand side. So if h, the position or the index of h is 0, the index of a is 1, the index of 2 is P. The index of P is 2, and etc. So the final one is E. E is in the position of 10. And this is the, how to say, the ascending order indexing. We also have the descending order indexing. So if you are using descending order indexing, the 0 is still H. Remember, 0 is still H. But the negative 1 will be E, and negative 2 will be D, negative 3 will be O, negative 4 will be C, negative 5 is a space, negative 6 is Y. Okay, let me show an example. Force were equal to HAP dot PY, right? Okay, code. Now I want to find the indexing, or I want to use the indexing to refer to specific places. Now I would ask you what is the indexing of the dots? So we know from the beginning, from the ascending order, H will be in the position of 0, A will be in the position of 1, P would be in the position of 2. So there the dots will be in the position of 3. So now let's show cos 3 will be dot, right? And then now let's do the reverse indexing. So I want to find the reverse indexing for the space. So what is that? 0 is H, negative 1 is E, negative 2 is D, negative 3 is O, negative 4 is C. Negative 5 will be this space, right? So if I type in negative 5, then I find out the space. And okay, now since we know the ascending order indexing and descending order indexing, now we want to use this kind of stuff, using this indexing to find particular stuff that we want to have in this string. So what does that mean? In course, if you simply type just one parameter, then that is just a type, just picking one of the character from the string, right? If you want to pick many characters, you can use this column. You can use this column. You specify the start point, the stop point, and the step size. What does that mean by step size? If step is 1, then which means you are picking the stuff from the beginning to the end and at 1 each time. If step is 2, then probably you get H, P, P, space, O, E, right? If step is 3, then you are skipping 2 characters. So you are picking, for example, H dot and space and D. Okay, now let's see some example. Okay, now I want to take .py out. So how can I do that? So I use, so I found like the dot is from the 3, right? And py 3, 4, 5. Please be remember the end at the end place will not be or how to say, the end place will not be taken. So we will need to go one step further. So 3, 4, 5, 6. We need to type 6, then we will get .py. It's not 5 because the terminal one will not be inclusive. It's exclusive of the terminal. Okay, and now what if we want to skip? We want to add in the skip. So we kind of like skipping in between the p, right? So we add 1, 2, then we will only have .y. Okay, this is the indexing. Please be remember, this indexing is very kind of like challenging part in the first lecture. And indexing will also be applicable to lists. Now we are talking about string, but string, you can simply regard string as a list of characters, right? So let us see here. See some example here. So course, if I define course as business analytics, if I take 2, then that will be, because B is in the position of 0, U is in the position of 1, S is in the position of 2. So course 2 will take out the second S. So we get the S here. And if we omit the beginning part, but we type in the ending part, What does that mean? Means the beginning part will be automatically filling from the first character of the string, okay, or be automatically filling 0. So it means from 0, 1, 2, because the ending position will not be taken. So the 3, the I will not be taken. So we will only have bus. And the course, course 5, column to the end. If we do not specify the terminal position, then that means we will go all the way to the end. So now let's find 5. What is 5? B is 0, U is 1, S is 2, I is 3, N is 4, E is 5. So we will start from ESS space analytics to all the way to the end. And now let's look at the negative indexing, or like the reverse indexing. Negative indexing, we know S is -1, so C is of the -2. And the course, the beginning, ending, and the step size, right? Beginning is 1, it's U, starting from U, and 8, where is 8? S is 1, okay, 5 is E, 6 is S, 7 is S, 8 is the space. So we will take from U to S, and in between we have a step size of 2. So we will skip one by one. So we will take U, I, E, S. The second U, the U of the second position, of the first position, and I of the third position, E of the fifth, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, E of the fifth position, and S of the seventh position. And if I'm doing the negative step size, please remember the step size can be both positive or negative. If I use the negative step size, then you must specify the start point will be larger than the end point. Similarly, if you specify a positive step size, the start point will be smaller than the end point. Okay, if the start point is 8 and the end point is 1, and please remember the terminal point will not be taken. So I will start from 8. 8 is space, right? 8 is space and -2. So I will skip 1, right? I have a step size of 2, of -2. So from space, I take the S, take the N, take the S, because I will not cover the U. U is of position 1, right? So once I take this S, then it's end. So I will have space S and S. Okay, now I ask you a quiz, or kind of like a question. So how do we reverse string using this notation, using this start, end, and step size notation? Simply reverse it means S, you want to get a result, S, C, I, T, Y, L, A, N, A space. Course equal to business analytics. And now I want to get another string that is C, S, I, T, Y, L, A, N, A space S, S, N, E, I, S, U, B. Can anybody tell me how can I get this string? I think it's a very simple question, and many students, if you have learned that before, you probably know. And I realize you might be a little bit shy. So what I can do is I can simply type in the step size of -1. Without specifying the start points and end points, then that means by default it's from the beginning to the end. And because the step size is -1, so the beginning will be the last one, the end will be B. So if I run this one, then I will get the, SC, sorry. I simply want to flip the order of all the characters, right? Okay, now let's look at the next. So the quiz will be like kind of like the brain teaser will be comma, comma, -1. Then I get the reversed, reversed string. Okay, now let's look at the list. So as I have keep saying, list is nothing more than a bunch of like string. String is nothing more than a bunch of lists with characters, right? So we know we define the empty list. List has a symbol of the of the middle kind of middle bracket, and within the middle bracket, if we do not type in any element, then that is an empty list. That's initialize an empty list. Or we have two different types of defining the list. My list. We can use the middle bracket to define it, or we can define an empty list. Both are okay. Both are definition of empty list. This is empty list, and then letters will be equal to ABC. So in this list, in the letters list, we have 3 elements, and the first element is character A, and the second element is character B, third element is character C. Now, and numbers will have 3 elements, 1, 2, 3. And this is the integer 1, integer 2, and integer 3. And also, list can also contain elements of different types. So many types, this list will have like, in total, we have 4 elements. The first element is character A. The second element is number 2. The third element is number 3. The fourth element is another list. So the 4 and 5 is another list in the bigger list. It's just, you simply regard it as one element. Okay, so now let me ask you a quick question. So what is many types 3? This is similar, the 3 is indexing. So you know, all the indexing in Python begin from 0, right? So many type 0 is A, many type 1 is 2, many type 2 is 3, many type 3 is basically 4 and 5. It's a list. So we know that many type 3 is 4 and 5. So the follow-up question, so what is many type 3, 1? So this is similar. You simply regard many type 3 as a new list. You can replace it with anything like my list or other list. And then the my list 1 will be from the 4 and the 5, I take the position 1, right? So I will get 5 from the my list many types 3, 1. And once we have the list, we can add elements to the list. So one way we can add elements is using the extend function. We use the dots, numbers dots. This dot is to access an extend function under the object numbers, under the list object. And then we plug in another list. What does that mean? What does extend function do? It simply extend, which means a list. The first list is 1, 2, 3. The second list is 5, 6, 7. I simply combine them together. One by one by elements. So I get 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. However, I have another way to extend my list. Please take care. I extend and let me define my list equal to 1, 2, 3, and add the list equal to 5, 6, 7. Okay, I have 2 types to augment. The first type is the extend, right? So if I extend add list to my list, what I get? I will get 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. Okay, in another way, if I use my list dot append, Append is also a way for you to add some elements into your previous list. After this, and you can see my list, it's not add one by one, it's add another list all together to your previous list. So please be reminded these two differences. Extend will simply add everything, all the elements one by one to your previous list, but append will simply append a totally as a whole, will simply append whatever in the bracket as a whole to your previous list. But if it's append 5 and extend 5, then it's the same. Okay, sorry. Extend need to type in as a function and append 5. You can simply append 5. Okay, so these are the difference. Extend, you need to take the parameter as a list, but append, you can take whatever. No matter it's a list, it's a string, or it's a new number, right? Okay, now let's talk about the indexing. Indexing of the list. So we know the list has 3 elements, right? Letters will be 3 elements. A is of position 0, B is of position 1, C is of position 2. So the indexing follows exactly the same rule as string indexing. So letters 1 will be B, numbers 1 to negative. What does that mean? 1 to negative 1. This is start point. This is the end point. So the start point is 2, right? Negative 1 is the very last element, but it's inclusive. So we will have like 2 and 3. If you have the start point like these, then you will take all the things, all the stuff, 2 and 3. And numbers, if it's a comma, it's comma semicolon. It's colon 2. If it's colon 2, then which means its step size is 2. Step size is 2, then I will omit the middle part. So I will only take 1 and 3. And the numbers, if it's 1, the start point is 1, the end point is 3, and the step size is negative. What does that mean? It means I will not take any position because the step size can only be larger than 0, right? The step size should be positive to arrive, to pick all the stuff from the beginning to the ending. If beginning is smaller than ending and the step size is negative, then I will not be able to take any position from this list. So I will only return an empty list. About the length function. The length function is simply take any list or list typed object, for example, like string or lists or stats to the parameter, and then we calculate how many elements is involved in this list or this kind of list-like object. So length of the empty string or empty list, sorry, length of the empty list is 0 because it does not have any elements. Length of a string is CS41, it's 4 because it has 4 characters. And the length of 1, 2, 3 and parse, it will be have number 4 because you have 1, 2, 3, these are 3 elements plus the string element. And the membership in a list. And we have the membership function or membership operator is in operator. So it simply tells you whether this kind of stuff is within a list. So let's see if 0 is in 2, 3, 4. 0 is not in this 2, 3, 4, right? So we will return false, which means there is it's not a member of 2, 3, 4 list. And later, the second is 5 in 3, 4, 5 CS41. Actually, it's not. Even though this is a 5, but it's of string type. It's a character 5. But in this list, in the later list, it's 3, 4, 5 CS41. This 5 is of integer 5. So this character 5 and the integer 5 are not the same thing. So we do not have the character 5 in the list. And also we can check for substrings using the keyword. So we want to see if CO is in Python. We know that like in this Python string, we have THO, right? So THO is in the Python string. So the result is true. Okay, this is a membership function, a membership operator. Now let's see another console IO. What does that mean by console IO? Because whenever you are running your program, if you are running your program, we see here this stuff and the print, right? We previously have print. This stuff are kind of like the Python are interacting with your monitor. They kind of like Python write something on your monitor so you can see it. This is, oh, the IO stands for input and output. This is how the program output the result to you. Using print or using plot, you can write a diagram and show it in your monitor. That is also output. Except a print or a plot something on your monitor, you can also output to a file. That is called file IO, file input and output. But we have been focusing on output, right? So how can we take some input from the user? Because you know, whenever you are using Google, you need to type in something, right? You need to type in your keyword. So Google will know what to find. So this kind of stuff we type in using the keyword, using the keyboard. So that's the input. Similarly, you can think about this Google page as a program or as a function, and then the function or the program will take some input from your buffer. So what happens is whenever you are typing something, you are pressing your keyword or you are pressing your mouse. This kind of like these activities will become some inputs in your buffer stream, and the buffer will be kept in your memory, and then the program will try to access some information from the buffer. So you may not necessarily need to know the buffer. You simply know, okay, we need some kind of functions to take the input from the user. So what we do is we use the input function, okay, and then we assign the input function to a variable. So what does that mean? So what favorites? I define a variable favorites, and then I take an input. Now let me run this program. Then you see there is a bracket. They ask me to type in something. If I type in red, okay, and I press enter, then what that will be in the favorite? The favorite will contains the string of red. Okay. Please be remembered the input function, everything you take from the user will be regarded as a string. And then you can kind of like cast your strings to some other type, that's okay. And if I type in 5, even if I type in 5, but still I will get a string 5. If I do not want a string 5, I want an integer 5, what can I do is I do the kind of like the type casting, force casting. Then I can kind of like transform the string type 5 to an integer type 5. So the input function is the way you take something from the user, from the program user. So now we see favorite course input. Input, there is some parameters. Please take notes. These parameters, you type whatever, it does not affect the result you will get. This is simply the hint that the user will get, right? Because now we know we need to type in something, so we can I can type whatever. But if you are interacting with the user, the actual user, they do not necessarily see your code. They do not know what you want to do. So you need to give him some hints. What is your favorite stuff? And once you running this, then the what is your favorite stuff, this string will be a hint print to the user's monitor, and then you can type in XYZ. Then XYZ, XYX, so your favorite will still be XYX, but this hint will not be shown, will not affect your results. Okay, so print I also love, and once we get the favorite course, then we can kind of like treat it as a normal variable. But the variable is not defined in your code, but by a user. Then we have like I also love business analytics. Okay, and the control flow. Control flow, what does that mean? Means you are running the program, but you want to change the kind of the direction of or the orders of your program. So you can add in some if statements. So once you have the if statement, then you can determine whether the condition is met. If the condition is met, if the word is friendly equals to true, then we will print hello friendly world. Else if means else is if not is if this first condition is not true, right? And also if the second condition is true, so that means elif means if the first condition is not met and we met the other condition. If the word is happy, elif the word is happy, then I will print hello happy world. If the first condition is not met and the second condition is not met, all the other remaining cases, the remaining situations will goes to the else condition. The else condition will print the word is neither friendly nor happy, it not just needs a hug. So the control flow is simply using the if, else if, and else statements to control your logic. So as we see, if x is larger than 5, I write a very simple kind of like example. If x is larger than 5, then print larger. Okay, let me code again. X equal to input. Okay, and guess number. Okay, I define number is 10. Now, if x is larger than guess number, guess smaller. Okay, if x smaller than guess number, I will print smaller guess larger, and else print bingo, you get it. Okay, so now let's see. If I type 3, then it's not supported. Okay, sorry. I need to cast it, because without cast it's simply a string, right? So 3, if I guess 3, then it tells me, okay, small, and then you need to guess larger. And if I type 7, it's small, I need to guess larger. And if I guess 11, it's larger, I guess smaller. Then if I guess 10, then it says bingo, you get it. So this kind of if, else if, and else, they are simply treating different kinds of conditions. If the first condition is met, then I will run whatever is within, in between the if and the else if after the comma. And if if this condition is met, then I will run this code, or the whole code, whatever you want to type in code here, code elif. And this is code if. You can write many lines. It doesn't necessarily need to be just one line. And else is all the other situation. But because we have already defined if it's larger, if it's smaller, right? So the else will only have one case, is x equal to guess number. So you can also write it as if x equal to get number. But to make the complete, we will definitely need to have else. Otherwise, kind of the logic is not, the syntax is not true. But if you have nothing to write in the else, you can simply write pass. Pass means like I simply pass this situation. I ignore it. Okay, and this is a control flow. So to do the control flow, the very important thing is to the conditions, right? So we need to so that's the reason why we need to have the Boolean type variables of Boolean type. So bool of none will equal to false. What does that mean? It means if not, okay, print nothing else, print anything. You will find if none, because this is none and its bool type, the Boolean bool type of none is false. So this if is always false, if false. So I will always run the else situation. So this is kind of like ask you to, so none can be regarded as one of the condition. And Boolean false is false. Boolean 0 is false. Boolean 0.0 is false. And Boolean empty string is false. Boolean empty list is false. And everything else is truth. So if you have like a Boolean 42 or Boolean any number except 0, then you will have true. Or Boolean any string with characters. If it's not an empty string, then it will be true. And Boolean of any list will be true. So small quiz, is the following truthy or falsy? So Boolean false. It's actually true, even though it is false, but it is a list containing just one element. So it is the list will dominate. So it is a Boolean of a list, and the list will have one element, so it is true. Even though the content of the element is false, however, it's not dominating the list. So please remember, this is very confusing. If you ignore, if you kind of like delete the brackets, then you will get false. If you add one bracket, you will be true. And then let's talk a little bit about loops. Loops, because why we need to study loops is because programs or computer programs is how to say, the biggest advantage over human is because it can replicate or it can do duplicate stuff at a very high speed. But for people, for human, if you want to do the replicated stuff, it's kind of like tedious and very troublesome. You do not want to keep doing the same thing for all the time, right? So you can leave all this kind of like repeated work to programs. So that's the reason why we need loops. So the loops. So the first loop we will study will be the for loop. For item in iterable and the process item. This is the syntax. But now let's look at a more concrete example. So what does iterable mean? Iterable means either it is a list, it is a set, or it is a string. And for item, this item means the element. So for each time, I will simply choose one element from the list or from the string, and then I will process the element one by one. So now let's look at the left. For character, CH stands for character, but this is the variable name. You can name whatever you want. This is your own discretion. In a list, no, in a string, right? In a string. And this string contains 4 elements, 4 characters, CS41. And then print ch. So for each ch in CS41, we will print ch. So for the first iteration, the iteration means the first time we are running this this program. So the first one, ch will take the value of c. So we will print c. And then after I print, then I have nothing else. So I will jump to the second iteration, the second loop. And then the second loop will take the value of s. So I will print s, and I will jump to the third loop. The third loop will ch will take the value of 4, and I will print 4. And the fourth loop, ch will take the value of 1, and I will print 1. And this is for the string, loop over string. And on the right-hand side is loop over list. Okay, for numbers, num is simply the variable name you define. You can define it as okay, or define it as whatever you like. But please be remember, this should be equivalent, or this should be the same. These two should be the same. You cannot define for number and then you print num, and then this num will be undefined. Okay, for num in 31415, print num to the power of 2. So num square, right? So the first iteration, the num will take the value of 3. 3 to the power of 2, 3 square will be equal to 9. And then for the second iteration, number will take the value of 1. 1 square equal to 1. And the third iteration, the number will take the value of 4. 4 square will equal to 16. And 1 square will be equal to 1. 5 square will be equal to 25. Okay. However, in this slide, we only show you have the list, or you have the iterable that list everything, right? But what if you want to iterate many times, but you do not want to list all the elements in the iterable? Now you can do the range function. The range function will automatically generate a iterable over a range of numbers. So for example, you want 3 iterations, you want 3 loops. So you can simply for I in range 3. Then now you automatically have 3 iterations. It does not necessarily you need to use the I, but you get 3 iterations. But 3, you can simply write 1, 2, 3 or 1, 1, 1, right? But if you want like 100, or you want like 1,000 like iterations, then probably you need the range function to help you facilitate your iterable your iterable definition. So the syntax is similar to our indexing. So range, if you simply type one thing, then that's range stop. So you will only start from 0, 1, 2. You will not arrive 3. Or you can also specify range start, stop, or step. But please be remembered, it's not column anymore, it's comma. In the range function, you will only take the parameters and a comma in between. So range 5 to 10, that means the start point is 5, the end point, the stop point is 10, but we will not go to the stop point. So we will stop at the one element before the stop point. So we will have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And range 2 to 12, the step size is 3. So we will have like 2. 2 plus 3 is 5. 3 plus 5 is 8. 8 plus 3 is 11. So 11 is before 12, right? So we will end at 11. And because 11 plus 3 is 14, 14 will be larger than our stop, so we will not take 14. And for range, if it's a negative number, it's also okay. So long as our stop is larger than start is larger than stop. So -7 and -7 minus 5 will be -12. -12 minus 5 is -17. -17 minus 5 is -22. -22 minus 5 is -27. And -27 is the latest number before -30. Because -27 minus 5 is -32. -32 exceeds our stop sign. So we will omit the -32. Okay, then in the loops, we can also use our if statement to kind of like control our iteration. We do not necessarily need to go through all these kind of like range function, right? Whenever some kind of like a condition is triggered, then we can break the loop earlier. So for example, in the left example, we see for n in range 2 to 10. So what's the iterables? It's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? but it will in total you will have like 7. Yeah, you will have 8. You will have 8 numbers to iterate. But if n equal to 6, so n will be 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. There is no problem. I will simply 2, 3, 4, 5. I will simply print n, right? If okay, for the 6th time, for the 5th time, n will be equal to 6. Okay, if n will equal to 6, then I will break. Break means I will not execute whatever is remaining here and whatever n equals to 7, 8, 9, 7, 8, 9. So after running this program, I will only get 2, 3, 4, 5 because when n triggers when n equals to 6, it triggers the break statement. So it will jump out from the loop. And on the right hand side, the right example tells you continue. Okay, break means simply I ignore whatever is left. I simply break out the loop, right? But the continue function, let's see, if letters in unicorn, if letter in U or in N, right? If letter in UN, then I will continue. What does continue mean? Continue means I ignore whatever is left. I will jump to the next loop. So let's see. For the first time, for the first loop, letter equals to U. If U is in UN, right? U is in UN, right? So it's true. So I will continue. So I will not print U. I will simply jump to letter equal to N. Okay, now for the second iteration, letter equal to N, but N is still in UN. So I will continue. And then I will not print N. And then for the third time, letter equal to I. If I is in UN, I is not in UN, so I will not execute the continue line, the continue kind of command, right? So I will jump to print I. So I will start with I, C, O, R, but I will not have N because N is in UN. So you can think about on the right hand side, this example use the continue statements to jump UN, to kind of like remove UN from the unicorn string. Okay, this previously we have talked about the for loops, and now we have another type of loop. It's the while loop. While loop means if the condition is met, then we will do the stuff within the while loop. How do I know if a statement is within the while loop or not within the while loop? I use indentation to define, to decide. Okay, now while n equal to 100, 1000, then you see when I press enter, this mouse will automatically kind of like have an indentation to here, right? So I can while n equal to 100, I want n equal plus equal to time 2. So if I want to find all the n's the two okay, if I want to find all the powers of 2 within 1000, then what can I do? Then I can print n. Okay, so you see, if I run it here, I find out like 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, and all the way to this 1024. But why would I have 1024 printed out instead of like just 512? It's because please be remember the n, once the n is 512, so is n is smaller than 1000? Yes, it's true. So n 512 will still time 2. Well, then I will get 1024. So I will print 1024, and then I will then 1024 will come to here, and 1024 is larger than 1000. So I will not continue to this line, right? So how can I kind of like omit the final one, because I only want to find the n's within 1000. So what I can do is I can just use put the print in front of the n time equal to 2. Then I run it again. Then I get 512, and I don't have 1000. So that's whenever the condition is met, then I will continue with the code. Otherwise, I will simply jump to other thing. Print finished. Okay. You see now when n is equal to 1024, then I will simply print finished instead of like print it out. Okay, functions. Functions is something that you can define by yourself. So whenever you have, for example, now we have this code, right? This code is to find the define. I can kind of like a module, kind of make it as a modular or as a function. Define find to power of 2 within 1000. This is the function name, and then I kind of like I do not take any parameters. Then, or I can take parameter n or like a maximum, right? Maximum equal to 1000. I cannot simply use max because you see max here is green, so it's a reserved. So I better use maximum. It's a black, right? So if I define it, and then I need to return. And return. Okay, I need to return a list. At first, I have an empty list. Whenever I get an n, then I empty list append results. The result will append n, and then I will return result. So after I define this function, then what I can do is I can simply, if I do not type in anything, then it will simply get me the because my result is 4. You see, so I have all the 1, 2, 4, 8 all the way to 512, because even though I didn't say anything about maximum, but I have the initialization of the maximum to be 1000. But if I type in 100 instead of 1000, then the 100 will dominate the initialization. So I will get, I will put it to 1000. Okay, so I will get all the power of 2's within 100. Or I can also change the parameter to 500. Then I can get all the power of 2's within 500. I can also change it to 5000. So by functionize your code, you do not necessarily need to change your code all the time, every time, whenever you change your parameters. You can use the same solution, but you can simply input different parameters to do the same thing. So that's the good thing about our function. The function will kind of like modularize or kind of like standardize the way you solve the problem. And then you can use the functions many times, the same bunch of code so many times. So whenever you find your code is replicating itself, then better you use some functions and call the functions to do that. Okay, now let's look at this function. Define, def means define. Define a function that is prime. So this function tells you whether a number is prime number or not. So what does prime number mean? Prime number in mathematics means this number can only be divided by 1 or itself. There is no other common divisor of this number. So we see for I in range 2 to n. Why we start with 2 instead of 1? It's because any number divided by 1 is itself, right? All the number can be divided by 1, so it's meaningless to calculate the 1. So we start from 2 to n. Why we do not take n plus 1 is because any number can be divided by itself. So there is no meaning of like calculating divided by itself. So we will, because range will not take to the stop point. So we will arrive, the final one will be arriving at n minus 1, right? So in between 1 and n, so if there is any number that's the n mode by this I will be equal to 0, which means there is no remainder. There is no remainder means it can be totally divided by I. So if m mod by I will be equal to 0, then I will return false. What does this false mean? This false means the n is not a prime. Otherwise, if I finish all the for loop, but I still did not find anything that can be that n mode by I will be equal to 0, then I will return true, which means this number is a prime number. Okay, this is the function, a very simple function. And the last syntax is assignment expression. The assignment expression is a new feature of Python 3.8. As we know, we have the input function, right? And then we need, for example, let's imagine the situation. You go to a restaurant, and now you sit down, and there is a waiter or waitress coming to ask you, sir or madam, what would you like to order, right? Then you tell him the order, or you tell her the order. That's the first order. But probably he will ask you again, what else do you like to order, right? Until you say, oh, that's it, thank you, or like, I'm finished. And then he will leave and prepare the food for you. So if you want to use the while loop, you need to enter the while loop. You first need to define order. If whatever you say is nothing else, nothing else, then he will continue to help you order. If you say, okay, that's it, nothing else, then the ordering process will be finished. So now let's look at the old way of doing that. The old way of doing that before Python 3.8, before the assignment expression, then we input what would you like to order and equal to order, right? I assign whatever the user say to the order. And while order will not be equal to nothing else, I will print your ordering is. So which means the waiter or waitress repeating yourself, saying confirm your order. And second, after he confirms the order, and then he will also ask you again, what would you like to order? And then continue ordering until you say nothing else. But this is kind of like troublesome, right? You need to type order equal to input, what would you like to order twice. But now with Python 3.8, now we can use assignment expression. Using assignment expression, while order will be assigned to input what would you like to order. If this order is not equal to nothing else, you will print your order is something. And then we will run this input again. So whenever, so this is more like I put the input function and the expression function, the condition, the comparison function together. So this is a new feature of the Python 3.8. If you do not totally understand the new assignment, doesn't matter. I just want to use this example to show you the Python syntax is evolving. Like before 3.8, you don't have the assignment expression. After 3.8, you have the assignment expression. And now it becomes Python 3.9. So each version, the syntax will be a little bit different, or they will add more functions, more expressions to the syntax. So that means if you want to study Python, or you want to be a good Python programmer, then probably you need to continuous learning, or like lifelong learning, because everything is updating, so nothing is fixed. So now we have 3 minutes. Let me simply tell you a little bit more about our assignment 1. So I will give, for all the assignments, I will give you 1 week to finish it. So we will, you need to submit your assignment 1 by next Thursday. And assignment 1 is a little bit easy. So first, you need to download Python 3 Jupyter Notebook. Either you download the Jupyter Notebook by yourself, or you use Anaconda integrated system, that's okay. Or you use Jupyter Lab, that's also okay. Jupyter Lab is more advanced like Jupyter Notebook. So once you have the environmental setup, then I want you to replicate what we have learned today, the comments, variables, numbers, boolean, strings, list. I wish you to do what? So we have many examples here, right? But I don't want you to simply copy down the code. I wish you to do a little bit change, a little bit shift. For example, you can type. So I want to find the type of 5 or 6. Is 6 equals to 6, or is 5 not equal to 100? So you do a little bit of your own stuff, but still I want you to replicate, or like to replicate all the examples as we have shown in the syntax. This is a good exercise for students, especially when you have no prior experience for the Python syntax. Well, you will only be learning by doing that. Instead of like, if you do not do that, you simply watch my lecture, I don't think you can kind of like get a sense what's happening here, unless you find some difficulties, you find some bugs in your code, and then you can WeChat me or send email to me, and I can try my best to answer your questions. So your scores were based on the correctness of the syntax. So which means in your Jupyter Notebook, you need to have everything printed. I do not wish to see, for example, if I have syntax error, you need to debug it and to make it free of error. And then appropriateness of comments. For example, like here, you need to add some comments, say, this is a function to find the power of 2's within the maximum number you input, right? So with some comments, you will develop a good habit of communicating with your teammates and others. And the innovativeness of your topic is basically, for example, if you want to you can kind of like design a situation where you can use all these kind of like if statement, for loop, a while loop, or you can simply follow this example. When you are sitting in the restaurant, you are ordering some food, or you are going to somewhere else, you are going to a shop, you want to buy something, and there is a price, you need to define which clothes you want to buy, or if it's too expensive or much cheaper, all this kind of stuff. You can design a situation, and you use all the techniques we have learned to kind of like in that situation. That's a more advanced way of doing assignment 1. Or naive way is simply to copy down, or like to replicate our examples. Okay, do you have any question? If no, then this is the end of the lecture 1. Okay, do you think it's a little bit hard, or that's okay? Someone is asking a question.
I think like you're going too fast, like honestly. Because
really?
there are some of us who haven't done a single bit of Python before and think you're like going way too fast for this section.
Yeah, because the first section is more like telling you a little bit about the Python syntax. I will design it more like a review. If you find it a little bit, if you find it a little bit challenging, so that's the reason why I sent you the PPT slides 2 days ago, except some of you didn't receive my email. I wish you to, next time you come to the lecture, you can kind of like first preview our lecture slides. And then that's also the reason why I designed assignment 1 for you. That's for you to kind of like replicate the examples in the class. If you find any difficulties, please feel free to kind of like contact me on WeChat or on email. I will try my best to help you keep up on the pace. Is that okay?
But like for the future lectures, can we do like something a bit slower, like much slower than what we have done today?
Okay, so probably I will sacrifice a little bit of the the contents, and I make it optional to some students with background. And okay, I can do it slower. What other
about
comments?
this assignment?
Yes, yes.
About this assignment, do we have to make an entire project use all of this coding skills, or we can you do some separately projects?
Yeah, you can do separately, and if you manage to do it within one setting or one story, then I think that shows you are you kind of like you are paying too much effort in thinking about the situation. So I think that will give you some bonus mark. But to complete the assignments one, I think the easy way is to just do all these kind of concepts or ideas one by one, right? And you do not necessarily need to think about the situation. Great. So that's the end of today's lecture, and I acknowledge that some of you may find it a little bit difficult. So do the preview, and second, in later lectures, I try to slow down by sacrificing some advanced topics, and then make it optional to students with kind of like feeling more comfortable with the contents. Okay. Great. Thank you.
Sorry, the question.
Yes.
So when we finish this assignment, it's like we sending the Jupyter to your email, or
Oh yeah. Send your stuff to my email, but do not send me the Jupyter notebook because it's a little bit hard to just open one by one, and I need to open Anaconda do that. So download as a PDF. If you do not have if you do not have LaTeX in your computer, you download the PDF via HTML. If it tells you something wrong, then you can download HTML. So all these three is okay for me. So it will make me easier for your grading. And just send the PDF or like HTML to me, and I can give you grades.
Okay, great.
That 1 week. So the deadline will be by the third lecture, by next Thursday, third lecture. Send to my email address. I have I think I have many places writing my email address here. Okay, so that's it. Good night or good morning, and see you in Saturday. Bye.
Good night.
Bye, Daniel.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Sure. Go ahead.
You said we have to find team members. When does that have to be done?
I think as soon as possible, right? Even though the teamwork will be in the last 2 weeks, but I think as soon as possible. Okay. If you didn't find your teammate by next week, then probably I need to assign some teammate member for you.
Okay.
And sorry, how many people in one team?
5 people, because we have 30 students, so I want to divide it into 6 groups.
Okay, got it.
Any other question? Okay, if no, then I will end this lecture. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Yeah, you too. Bye.